Well, quite a lot to chew on, yes, because almost all the laws you're looking at have been from the House of Representatives. Of course, some have also been from the Senate, like the Electoral Act and the PIB. The PIB has already passed, and you've seen the uproar in some quarters that have greeted that particular bill. The Electoral Act, there were, well, I say talks that there were surreptitious attempts to bring into it things that were not initially there and agreed upon by the Joint Technical Committee of both the House and the Senate. And that's what that meeting is about. So let's quickly take the perspective of Honorable Sergio Ogun, who is a member of the Constitution Review Committee. Honorable, you're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Well, the National Assembly is under some focus, and very soon you'll be going, maybe some people say rightly so, because very soon you'll be going on recess. So it is important that a lot of the things that you know, there are controversies around, be brought to the fore. And maybe recess could provide time for people to re-engage with their constituents over, you know, some of this passage of bills and, you know, acts that have just been, well, maybe not acts, yes, because some of them have not been signed into law. But let's quickly take your own thinking around the controversy they brewed around the Electoral Act. We did hear that the Joint Committee had finished their work. In fact, they finished within the time frame which the National Assembly had promised that they were going to deliver the Electoral Act. They had promised the first quarter of this year. It's now since past the first quarter of the year. We're already in the second quarter. Is that so? Well, in fact, we're already in the third quarter, as a matter of fact. And still, this Electoral Act amendment bill is yet to sail through. What has been your thinking when you heard the controversy that came up around it?
Well, I was disappointed, and we did engage some of our colleagues who were members.
Disappointed in who?
In the things that came up, the things we heard. Because what's the essence of amending an act is to improve on it. So when we heard certain things were now being brought in, so we engaged. I engaged some of my colleagues that were members of the committee to say, was this agreed on? And they said, no, nothing like that, you know. So, like I said, the idea of amending an act is to improve on it, to bring in technology. So, I would think maybe part of the delay, why they have not laid it, is maybe they were trying to make some amendments. Because usually, like what is happening with the PIB now, you go through all the process, public hearing, and then you are going to present the clean copy, and then there are all manner of things coming up to say, look, what you have actually done is not, there are things that need to be corrected. So I thought maybe that was what delayed it. But I think it's going to be laid today, tomorrow, and hopefully we'll do the clause-by-clause consideration this week, and then third reading, and will be sent to the president.
Was it reassuring for you when the Speaker of the House came up to say that there is no such thing as any insertions anywhere?
Yes, it was. But it was never from the House. Whatever happened was in the Senate. Because my colleagues in the House said, look, there was nothing like that. You know, they even went back and approached the chairman of the committee to say, look, this is not what we agreed on. If it's been tampered with, we're not going to accept it. And the chairman of the committee assured them that nothing like that happened. So if anything happened at all, definitely not from the House.
But there was a possibility that, I mean, that could have happened.
Well, something definitely happened. Well, people can come out and say all manner of things. Certain things definitely happened. But we can't say all on television. You know that.
I'm just wondering now, the PI, I mean, much as we can't say all, the people still deserve a right to know.
Of course,
so as much as possible, we will still ask the questions that need to be asked. Let's talk about the PIB. And you are from Edo State.
Yes.
You must have been very interested in the PIB. I'm wondering, when the PIB eventually sailed through, because the House did celebrate, correct?
I celebrated.
You did?
Yeah.
So were you surprised then at the reactions that greeted the passage of the PIB?
It's expected, because oil is our mainstay. For me, it's not just that I'm from an oil-producing state. I lived all my life in Delta, Rivers, because I'm also a player in the industry. And one of the first things when I came to the assembly, the 8th assembly, was, so we were in a program in Houston during the Oil Technology Conference, and the MC said to me, we have donated you to the National Assembly to go and pass the PIB. And I was very convinced that I was going to walk around with the leadership to make sure that we have a PIB. So it didn't happen in the 8th Assembly. So, and I was also a member of the PIB ad hoc committee. And I know the effort the leadership of the House put in and then the executive. So when people come out to raise certain issues, it's okay. It's okay because, like I said, oil is our mainstay. Anything that's going to affect them, you expect them to come up in arms to say, look, this must be changed. But my appeal is, it's just a bill. And this bill is being in the making for maybe 13 years. So let it come out. We can start amending from the day the president assents to the bill. But it's not such a bad bill. But let's just, because investors are living here. Monies are going elsewhere. And I don't think we are happy with that. Whether we like it or not is affecting our economy. Some years ago in Warri, people used to say, let them go. Would they come and carry their oil from here? But they left. Shell left. Did they carry the oil? No, they didn't. They divested. Give to smaller players or smaller players that are not necessarily operating from Warri or Delta State. You know, when Shell divested the oil west, and some of the individuals working for them that were living in Warri. But now those individuals are working for these smaller companies elsewhere in Lagos. And what is that doing to the economy of Warri? It's damaged the economy. But I saw a clip on social media when the first flight after COVID got into Warri. Maybe that was probably some couple of weeks ago. And they had this group, traditional group, dancing. I saw some chiefs waiting just to welcome them. It's not as if the governor came in the flight, just to welcome them back. Osubi is now back to business. But some years ago, it wasn't like that. For sure, to build that airport, it was plenty trouble. So the point I'm making is, let's not chase investors away. We need a bill that will work for everyone. You know, but in the process of, you know, challenges, throwing up some of these issues, we'll look at it. Now, the bill we have passed, I would not say it's a perfect bill, but it's a good place to start.
Let me throw this to my colleagues. Gentlemen.
Well, thank you, Mokwe. Honorable, one of the... permit me to take you back to the Electoral Amendment Bill, and especially the disappointment that you expressed there, those inclusions. As you said, there is also word out there that this is definitely something that may have happened before. If it has happened before, I mean, that such things happened, and even if they were almost incongruous as may be, I'm just wondering, has there ever been an investigation to find out how come this provision that was not approved by us got in? Has there ever been an investigation to trace the source of such a thing? And will there be an investigation into how this one came into this proposition and into public space?
Well, the thing about democracy or politics is all about interest and lobbying. I think somebody brought a bill to have in our constitution lobbying, and people, the way we think in Nigeria, the conclusion was when you say you approve a law for lobbying, which means you have officially approved laws for people to bribe. But in the US, where we copied or were mimicking their system, is allowed. When you are lobbying, you are basically reaching out for certain interests you want taken care of. So I think the process of some of these things coming back, it might seem as if it's coming through the back door, but there are certain interests that will come in that late. I'm not saying it's acceptable. I'm not saying we should close our eyes to it. All it tells us is that we should be alert. It's not enough to just go through a bill and then you present the clean copy and then you go and sleep. You must make sure that the final bill that's presented for clause-by-clause consideration on the floor of the House is also, you go through with a fine toothpick to make sure that nothing has been inserted.
Lobbying that you talked about there, I mean, one would wonder if we understand lobbying in our climb compared to the climb that you referenced earlier. I don't know if, money has to exchange hands when it comes to lobbying. Could you please explain, if you can, the process of lobbying? I mean, the way we understand it is consultation, so to speak, but maybe there's something about lobbying that we don't understand.
Yeah, I said that, out there is people reaching out, people making you understand this is the advantage of having this clause included in this bill that you are preparing. They let you know the advantage to the country, to the individual, and now you're looking at, this is present day, but 50 years time, this is what this clause will do to this bill and to the country. So that's the idea of lobbying, because if they don't come to open your eyes to it, even if you're an expert, you might not see that part of it. So that's the idea of lobbying. But like I said earlier on, in this part of the country or this part of the world, when you say lobbying, it's assumed that somebody is bringing a bag of money to buy your conscience to do the wrong thing.
Honorable.
That's not it. So what I'm saying is, people come in with ideas maybe much later, the tail end of the bill. There's nothing wrong. I think the right thing to do is to say, okay, fine, we have gone so far in this bill, we might not be able to accommodate it right now. When we pass this bill and it's assented to, maybe we can begin to do some amendments. And in the life of a bill, really, or in the life of a nation, some bills have been in existence in this country since the 60s, and they are still fairly okay. So it's not every bill that should come out today and be thinking about amendment, because you should allow that bill live its life. What do I mean by that? As now we're talking about the PIB. People have raised issues about certain clauses, included by the other arm, the Senate, that probably were not discussed during when we were putting the bill together. Yeah. When this bill is allowed to go through, in the process of executing it, the process of the bill running, there are certain dynamics that will come into play that maybe we didn't envisage. That definitely will call for an amendment. So when I see people are in a hurry to say it didn't cover, how can a bill cover your entire life or all your thoughts? We are a nation. So in the next 50 years, the things you didn't envisage now might begin to come into play. And the bill probably will take care of it, or might not envisage that. So we should not expect everything we think or we want to be in a particular bill. It's not possible. Well, nothing is perfect in this world. The only being that's perfect is God.
Well, about the PIB, just going back and forth on both, actually. How concerned should people be, or stakeholders particularly, when concerning that section 317, subsection 2, paragraphs, subsection 8, paragraphs 2 and 3, concerning licensing, importation of petroleum products, where they think that, look, from what they see here, there might be danger in terms of allowing a particular company to import all of those petroleum products, because given that it's a volume business, who knows, that they think that there just might be a challenge in the days ahead. Should that be a source of concern?
Definitely, should be. Definitely. But the challenge again with that, is in the Senate version of the bill. It was never discussed. What was discussed in the making of the bill was that the government, NNPC, will be the last buyer of last resort in the event that we have challenges in the future. And it was said that the government, the Nigerian government, will tell NNPC to bring in products if we have challenges in the future. That was all that was said. So we didn't discuss this. We don't know how the Senate got that in. But the good thing again about the parliament, that's why you have a conference. So I think they are meeting today. The conference has been set up by the National Assembly. We are meeting today. They're going to look at all that. If it wasn't there initially, did anybody see a need to bring it in? Was there a stakeholder that felt that the way it was couched previously, it wasn't good enough, and it was brought in and it was not discussed? The conference will look into all that, and whatever is not good enough will be taken out.
So it's not over until it's over.
Exactly.
Well, I hope that will be sufficient assurance as we move ahead. We would like to see what eventually will happen, because you say or as soon as the president assents to this particular bill, that we can even start amendment almost immediately. Some people will say that that is hoping for too much, but let us see how things eventually, pound. Meanwhile, just quickly as an aside, the Constitution Review Committee, where is your work at right now?
Well, we met yesterday, and hopefully we are not going on recess. The committee members are not going on recess on that. We're going to work all through the holiday, and hopefully we should lay the report first week of resumption, and maybe by second week we'll take a vote on it.
You're confident that the amendments will be able, some amendments will be able to pass in the Constitution before this assembly is over?
Definitely. We see, there's a consultant that was in the 6th and 7th House, and was telling me most of these amendments, they took care of them and they sent to the president, was not assented to. And I said to him, a whole lot of water has gone under the bridge since then. So there are things that are in this amendment that must be taken care of today. We cannot wait for the next House, the next assembly.
Well, we have to thank you for coming on Sunrise Today this morning. Honorable Sergio Sogun is a member